This is the Crosman 2289G. It fires 22 caliber pellets at 450 feet per second. It's a multi-pump, so you have to pump it up 10 times to get full power. It uses bolt action. The rear sight can either be a peep sight or an iron sight. And the stock can come off, and you can put on 2 pistol grips for it to be a pistol. It doesn't make a very good pistol because it's hard to control. It's also good that the stock can come off for concealing it or transporting it in like a backpack or something. The stock and pump handle are both made of plastic. They don't feel cheap or anything, and it saves a lot of weight. The rear sight and the front sight are both made of plastic. The front sight has a green fiber optic tube in it. The rear sight, I have it set to peep sight. You can't fire it with as a rifle with the notch sight because it's really difficult to tell where the front sight is in relation to the rear sight. The bolt is made of brass. It doesn't feel cheap at all. It's very smooth. It doesn't stick. Even whenever you bring it back, it doesn't stick like it does in some cheaper guns. This little pin, after you pump it a certain amount of time, starts to work its way out of the hole. It's never came out all the way on me, but I use something hard and plastic to knock it back in so it doesn't mark up the gun. The trigger is also metal. It's a pretty nice trigger. It's a little bit heavy, but it's smooth. It's very comfortable to fit in your hand. The safety is also plastic. It just doesn't feel cheap, but it could be a little bit more sturdy. The grip is very, very comfortable. It's a lot more comfortable than the rifle in the last review. The only problem is it wobbles a little bit, but not enough to cause any problems with shooting. And when it's in your hand, it doesn't wobble at all because your hand keeps it secure. Out of the box, there's no way to mount a scope on this. I don't know if you can buy mounts that clamp onto the barrel here, but Crosman came out with some mounts for their CO2 powered version of this gun, and they clamp onto the barrel, and as far as I know it works just fine, but I don't know if they're available for this gun, or if those same ones fit this gun. The barrel, this receiver, the pump, the air chamber, and the trigger guard and all that stuff is made of metal. The breech is made out of plastic, and I wish it was made of metal. It doesn't feel cheap either, but it would just look nicer if it was metal and feel nicer. It'd be more sturdy, but it's like I say, it's sturdy enough already. This gun is also very light. It would make a good fit for younger shooters. I'm 16 and it's fine for me too. I'm full grown. But for younger shooters, like for instance 12 years old, this would probably be a pretty good fit for them too. Like all pump action guns, they need to be oiled from time to time. Take some Crosman Pell gun oil and put a couple drops in here after every 250 to 500 shots. And the seal should stay fine for a really long time. I've never had any problems with seals yet, and I've had this for over a year now. Also, the bipod from the last review it will fit on the barrel, but you can't put it on because the string of the pump handle gets in the way. It'll hit the bipod and eventually knock the bipod off because the bipod just clamps on. If you had the tools to, you could make a new pump handle for this out of wood. All it's holding on is these 2 pins that can be knocked out with a screwdriver and a hammer, a very small screwdriver. And do it carefully because these holes that are in the pump handle can be made bigger and the pins won't fit properly. And as I said earlier, this gun shoots at 450 feet per second and it shoots 22 caliber pellets. It's considerably more powerful than my other rifles. I'll give you an example of that. Okay, this is an example of how much more powerful the 22 caliber pellet is than the 177. This hole here is from the 22, and this little dent here is from the 177. This is shot at about 35 to 40 feet, or about 15 yards. So the 22 obviously has a lot more power than the 177. And the 177 that I fired at this fires faster than the 22 caliber I fired at this. So that's just an example of how much more powerful that the 22 is. Okay, now we're going to do an accuracy test. I'm going to fire 3 or 4 shots at a target 15 yards away and see how we do. Okay, here's the results. This was about 15 yards. I fired 3 shots. They're pretty good. They're pretty close together. They're about a half inch or 5/8 of an inch apart. I only paid $110 including tax fiscal, so that's pretty darn good for just $110. So if you were trying to hunt squirrels, pigeons, crows, robins, mice, rats, this would definitely be adequate for headshots even. I shot that target using these Crosman Premier 22 caliber hollow points. At this velocity, the hollow point is pretty much useless because it doesn't expand that much just this velocity. But 22, the hollow points are the only ones the Canadian Tire has in 500 tins, so that's what I buy. The hollow point doesn't seem to affect accuracy at all because I've used pointed pellets with this gun too, and it doesn't seem to make any difference other than penetration. I would recommend this gun to anyone who does pest control or likes target shooting or plinking. This gun is concealable, so if you're doing pest control in an area where you're not really supposed to be doing it, not that I want to encourage illegal activities, but you can take the stock off and you can hide it in like a backpack or something very easily. So if you're doing something around the house, if you have a squirrel problem or a rat problem or something, this is a very good gun for taking care of that. I would definitely not recommend using most 177 rifles available at Canadian Tire or Walmart for pest control because they just don't have the punch to do it. I've never tried it, but I noticed by stuff I've shot on this range, the 22 is a lot more powerful and definitely a better choice for pest control.